I'm grateful today to be part of these historic commemorations. June 16 in particular is not an ordinary day in our calendar. It's the day when we reflect on the sacrifices, the struggles, the determination, the purposefulness of our young people then for the liberation of this country, for achieving quality education. But of course, let me be quick to say 2020 is gonna be another historical year where we'll say young people were in the forefront of the struggle against coronavirus. We expect our young people in numbers to go out there, assist the community at large, especially in rural areas, to ensure that they comply with all the regulations that have been put forward by the President Ramaphosa. One of them is to make sure that young people, they are the agents of social distancing. But also young people has a huge responsibility to educate the other young people and elderly people on the importance of constantly washing of hands, sanitizing, and wearing a mask in public spaces at all times. And of course, to show compassion for those who are less privileged and ensure that as many South Africans as possible survive this pandemic. Beyond COVID-19, we need to look at where we were before COVID-19 and encourage our young people to analyze their circumstances carefully and to reposition themselves, for instance, against unemployment. We have high levels of unemployment. When we talk to young people, we're talking to persons with disability, young women, and young people in rural communities as well, to be part of the struggle for economic inclusion. We expect as many young people as possible to take advantage of all the offerings that are on the table, sharpen their vocational skills, and choose their path carefully and ensure that never again will they be the face of poverty. And of course, we expect our young people to be the agents of peace, security, and the culture of human rights. During this month, we'll encourage generation equality discussions. So it's important for our youth to enter this decade using this month to clearly learn from the resilience of the past, but also to position themselves for measurable outcomes. Remember, you follow on the footsteps of world leaders like our first president, Utata, President Mandela, who taught us that it always seems impossible until it's done. We wish you well.
When we go towards June 16, is the time that we are going to commemorate the day itself, the day that became the catalyst in terms of the liberation of our country. June 16, 1976 remind us of our fallen heroes. We remember Tsietsi Mashinini, we remember Khotso Seatlholo, we remember Steve Bantu Biko, Abraham Onkgopotse Tiro. We remember people like Solomon Mahlangu. We remember people like Mondi Motlong. Those people are the people who laid their lives for the liberation of the country. Those people have their blood that watered the tree of liberty. Garibaldi says, the tree grows stronger when watered with the blood of the martyred. In 1976, we tried at our level best to preserve the institutes of learning. We had the ability at that time whereby we could have destroyed these schools, but we did not do that because we knew the importance of the schools in terms of building up the leadership of tomorrow.
The message for the youth today, I want to say, whilst the youth of 1976 were united against an oppressive system, they used stones, petrol bomb, and mass protests and made the system ungovernable. The challenges of the youth of 2020, they are different as we are confronted with unemployment and poverty and inequality. The tools, therefore, that we must use as this generation, they ought to be different. We must use the pen, we must use the paper, and indeed our ideas to change our own socio-economic circumstances. It is through the strength of our ideas that we can fight poverty, unemployment, and inequality. I thank you.
This year, we commemorate 44 years since June 16, 1976, that fateful day when so many lives were lost, and in the coming months, more of our young people were lost due to the brutal apartheid system. We also this year commemorate 30 years since the release of our first president, Nelson Mandela, from Victor Verster prison. As we meet here today, we know that we meet in challenging and uncertain times for our country, our continent, and the world. This year, June month will have to be done virtually as much as possible, but we're still going to be trying to reach out to as many young people as possible. In these uncertain times, your voices as young people become more important than ever before. As we try and transition to a better world, you as young people will be the leaders of that world. And therefore, this is probably the most important June month that we will celebrate in South Africa's democratic history. During this Youth Month, NYDA will be hosting various webinars that will cover topics from education to employment to entrepreneurship to keep you up to date with the recent trends and developments so that you're aware and that you have information that can contribute meaningfully to your life. We'll be building up to June 16th when His Excellency President Ramaphosa, in an interactive session with young people, will address the country. We're also happy to announce today the Trailblazers campaign. We know that even in these uncertain times, there are young people out there in their communities who are actively making a difference, who are helping other young people, who are helping to protect food security, who are volunteering their time and their skills to improve their communities and improve South Africa's situation. We want to know your stories, we want to know who you are, and we want to tell your stories to the country and the world. If you're a young person who is actively making a difference, we urge you to submit your application at trailblazers@nyda.gov.za. The NYDA has also established a COVID-19 relief fund, which is specifically targeted at those youth micro-enterprises who may have been adversely affected by COVID-19. We want to know who your businesses are, and you can find more information about this program on www.nyda.gov.za. As soon as the lockdown restrictions start to be eased and we move down to level 3, we also want to kick off that exciting campaign that we announced during the State of the Nation address called the 1,000 Businesses in 100 Days. I urge young people who have great business ideas, who have ideas in the new economy, to submit their applications on our website so that we can evaluate your application and have you part of the 1,000 Businesses in 100 Days. In the weeks and months that follow, it will be critically important that we support young people in getting their enterprises off the ground. We'll also be running programs with the Department of Employment and Labour to help those young people who may have fallen out of work or those who are unemployed to find work again. These initiatives are important, but alone they will not change the face of South Africa's economy. Even before COVID-19, South Africa's economy was not in a good place. It was catastrophic and a shame on our country that we had the worst youth unemployment rate in the world. We have not done right by our young people in a democratic South Africa. We have allowed their energies and their passions to fall by the wayside, and we've left them unemployed and without dignity. It is time to restore the dignity of our young people. Too many young people don't know the simple joys of cashing a paycheck, or of planning a holiday with their friends, or of knocking off on a Friday afternoon. Therefore, beyond the existing initiatives, we need to start thinking about things like a basic income grant for unemployed work seekers, about a universal basic income, about higher taxes on the rich, and about a minimum employment guarantee for young people. If a young person has passion and energy and wants to work, we as the state should be obliged to provide that young person with work. We know that after COVID-19, there will be a world left over. And we know that that world must be led by young people. Through Youth Month, we'll be running competitions to allow you to get involved. We want to hear from you. I want to understand what are your ideas in the new economy. We want your voices to be amplified, and we want your voices to be united in a message. I thank you very much for listening to this message and for giving me your time. I hope that you stay safe and that you stay well, and that we will meet again in the future. I thank you very much.
Azania is up in smoke. The youth is hungry, but they were born free. They fight because they were taught that education is key. Majority of us today disagree. See how we as a people begin to treat this lockdown is very important. To stop and reflect on all things that was and what we were experiencing as a nation and as individuals. Huge venomous clouds of depression tying us to death, looming over the earth. Oppression, genocide, femicide, violence, corruption, poverty, global warming. The list is endless because now we're on COVID-19. And to consider, to pause and breathe. Take some time to cleanse and shift perspective. Igama Ningumlamli, and I was born to be a peacemaker.
My name is Ntakhwane Boy Makua. I'm 30 years old, from Dennilton. I studied with Transnet Engineering, Germiston. My highest qualification, I'm a qualified electromechanician artisan. I found out about NYDA online, doing research on the grant programs that are available to assist me with my irrigation system problem. I found out what the requirements were, I attended their training, submitted the necessary and required documents, and they were able to assist me with 49,000 from Groblersdal branch NYDA. Before I got NYDA funding, I was under a wing of mentors. What I learned from them was not to give up, work with what you have and keep going. You know, there's no need for you to be complaining. It doesn't work. No one is gonna feel sorry for you. You just need to work.
This is the 44th anniversary of June 16, when young people exposed the atrocities of apartheid globally. So the outside world understood our struggle against apartheid from the prism of young people. The trigger was the imposition of Africans as a medium of instruction at Black African schools. Armed only with the dustbin lids and stones, the youth took on a mighty violent apartheid state to resist this imposition. It was in a way affirming their identity through their language and by rejecting an unjust system. The brutality of the state was illustrated by the cold-blooded murder of children by this apartheid state machinery. All that did not stop young people from putting their foot down against oppression and against apartheid. And their actions said, enough is enough. This far, no further. There is a historic need to also mention that while Soweto was the focus of student uprisings, there was a spiral wave of similar uprisings in other parts of South Africa, which collectively set our country on the road to freedom like never before. The youth of the 1980s heeded the call by Oliver Reginald Tambo to make apartheid South Africa unworkable and ungovernable. They fought to ensure that their resistance to apartheid is given a final blow. The youth of the 90s and 2000s took on another new challenge, challenges of social ills, of crime, challenges related to diseases like HIV and AIDS and so on. The youth of 2020 have been called upon to fight a much more silent war, the coronavirus pandemic, and help to rebuild a new society post-COVID-19. You need to use your energy as the youth of today to create a world that will allow all of us to survive and thrive despite this pandemic. Despite all the challenges facing young people, our Youth Day and Youth Month program allow us to empower youth across all sectors of society by encouraging you, the youth, to take charge of your lives. We are aware of the effects of COVID-19 on all of society, and we are acutely aware of its negative impact on youth employment. We urge the youth to look at innovative ways that will allow us to live and succeed despite this pandemic. Through the various virtual platforms of Youth Month program activities, we will take actions to improve youth access to government services, opportunities, resources, and transform their attitudes and values. We are all aware of the new normal posed by COVID-19, hence 2020 Youth Day commemoration and Youth Month program will be held on virtual platforms as well as live streaming. We will work with many partners to drive a message of encouragement and positivity through these platforms. There is a stark reality that many young people may not be able to access the events during 2020 Youth Month program due to internet and so on. It is to this end that the June 16 commemoration event will also be celebrated virtually and broadcast on broadly accessible media through radio and television, including community-based media. Whilst COVID-19 is a potentially life-threatening disease, it has some positive spin-offs. Many young people, especially those in creative industries, are creating 4IR solutions that transcend beyond the end of the pandemic. In fact, according to South African Cultural Observatory 2019 research findings, there is an indication that 65% of people active in the creative industries are young people. We have to adapt to our new normal, which requires creativity, innovation, and acceleration of the fourth industrial revolution led by you, the South African youth. I'm aware of an upbeat medley song compiled by young South African artists, which celebrates and praises the work done by our health workers on a daily basis to keep all of us safe. These young people joined together using technology and live streaming during lockdown. They recorded a song called The Ultimate South African Song, something for all South Africans to enjoy. We encourage more of such actions from all young people. Actions that will empower them and uplift society during these trying times of COVID-19. I wish the NYDA all the best in launching Youth Month and Youth Day under this new normal. Remember to practice good hygiene and to social distance. You are the ones who have been waiting for. Thank you for your attention.
This is a year in which we mark the 44th anniversary since 1976. student uprising, which is another milestone in our country's long journey to youth empowerment. The generation of 1976 laid a solid foundation in our fight against cultural domination and oppression. Each year, June 16 is therefore a day to which we all recognize the struggles of the 1976 and to celebrate the impact they brought in the liberation of our country. This year also marks the 30th anniversary of the release of the founding father of our nation, Rolihlahla Nelson Mandela. Today, we are launching Youth Month 2020 under the theme Youth Power, Growing South Africa Together in the period of COVID-19. Through the various Youth Month activities, we should work together to improve access to government opportunities, including job opportunities, the resources that are at our disposal, and those that we will get in support of the partner countries can make us achieve this. Nothing is impossible unless we are determined to reach our goals. This will hopefully contribute to the transformation of the lives and values of our youth. The youth of 1976 fought an oppressive regime. It is incumbent upon the youth of 2020 to work together to fight and conquer the invisible epidemic called COVID-19. The department I lead has been tasked in providing strategic leadership and coordination to the government departments and the country in the mainstreaming and empowerment programs on women, on youth, and with people with disabilities. We have made significant progress in putting in place measures such as mainstreaming youth issues with government programs and increasing higher education funding to mitigate these challenges. Our government will utilize Youth Month to galvanize and focus our energy and resources on youth empowerment and development. We will mobilize society around building a capable and developmental state, focusing on the key capabilities of young people and promote social cohesion and nation building. Our country continues to grapple with the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Our young people bear the most brunt of these challenges, particularly young people and women. Disabled people too. Despite the challenges, we encourage our youth to remain resolute and work with government to overcome these challenges. We also call upon our youth partners to join us in building a more equitable growth path as outlined in our National Youth Policy and our National Development Plan. We will intensify some of the government interventions to further accelerate empowerment and development of young people so that they can reach their full potential. The Presidential Youth Employment Intervention is a strategic plan which sets out priorities and actions to address youth unemployment. It includes a national pathway management network that matches candidates with work opportunities. We believe that it will enable young people to have further access to opportunities. Our government recognizes that challenges faced by our youth requires multi-pronged efforts from various stakeholders in order to promote the development and sustainable livelihoods and address the triple challenges. With youth disabilities continues to face barriers in our country. We need to continue to mainstream universal access to realize the ultimate goals of the disability movement. Furthermore, providing opportunities for the youth with disabilities will ensure that they contribute fully to the country's development and an economic growth to the fullest extent of their abilities. Young people represent a valuable resource and network during this COVID-19 crisis. With the right training, they can work together jointly with the authorities to help break the chain of infection. In the light of this pandemic, COVID-19, this year's Youth Month seeks to urgently improve South Africa's productive capacity, human capital, and state capability through inclusively addressing the high unemployment rate and livelihoods to insecurities facing our young people. Accelerate delivery of transformative services for our youth by encouraging innovative, promoting entrepreneurship, grow on with the youth owned small businesses, employment of young people in sectors with high absorption capacity, and the opportunities brought by Fourth Industrial Revolution. Promote the youth slogan, "We don't want a handout, we want a hand up." Identify and broaden opportunities to employ young women, the young people with disabilities, and the youth in general through dedicated economic inclusion, education and skills development. Profile the role of the youth as ambassadors for behavioral change in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. It is also encouraging to find us that we engage in discussions, conversations through themed webinar series, Facebook live broadcasts focusing on 30th anniversary of the release of Nelson Mandela and the impact it had on the youth today. In conclusion, I would like to call upon all sectors of the society to utilize the month of June to contribute to building a better and a capable and a developmental state, focusing on key capabilities for the young people. Let us remember to always wash our hands with soap, sanitize, practice social distancing, and wear a mask. I thank you.
The anniversary of the Youth Day, June 16 this year, is being commemorated under difficult times of COVID-19. As it has been indicated by various speakers, young people as future leaders are encouraged to come with innovative ideas to ease life during the COVID-19 and beyond. Whether it is in commerce, sport, sciences, or the arts, young people are expected to lead in coming up with innovative solutions of negating destructive effects of COVID-19. The events of June 16, 1976 were the building blocks for fighting a system of government that oppressed the African people. Despite detentions without trial, abductions, and brutal killings by the system, the young people of 1976 remained resolute to fight the system to its end. The youth of today have a different enemy to fight: poverty, unemployment, inequality, crime, and most recently, COVID-19. The lesson the young people of today can take from the youth of 1976 is that young people can impact the world if they put their minds to it. All they need is the motivation, willpower, and passion. The Youth Day, in essence, is about the celebration of the potential and power of our youth to create positive, innovative influences that can shape the future of our country. Despite all the challenges facing young people, Youth Day and Youth Month long programs allow us as government and our partners to showcase the opportunities for youth empowerment across all sectors of society. We are aware of the effects of COVID-19 and all of society, and we are sharply aware of its negative impact on youth employment. We therefore urge youth to look at innovative ways that will make us to be able to live and succeed despite the virus. Government recognizes that the many challenges faced by the youth requires a multi-stakeholder approach. These challenges include development of sustainable livelihoods, ending cyclical poverty and inequality, and creation of an enable environment for youth development. Gender-based violence still remains the biggest national crisis that threatens our social cohesion and democracy. Gender-based violence has had devastating effects on adolescent girls, young women, women in general, and many members of the LGBTQI community and its primary victims. We are aware also of the rise of violent killings of young men, particularly as it happened in Tongaat in KZN, and youth in general. Government is working in a multi-pronged fashion and multifaceted partners to curb the monstrosity of gender-based violence. We wish to encourage young people to tune in and be in the know about accessing government services and opportunities for youth. The growth of our economy will to a greater extent be influenced by how agile all role players are in embracing the fourth industrial revolution. This is an opportunity for young people to distinguish themselves and lead this revolution. For an example, we have seen many young designers creating beautiful face masks, some even with ventilators, as a way to adapt to the new normal. This creativity must extend to all other phases of the economy. In closing, I would like to leave you with a quote from the former statesman, Dr. Nelson Mandela. Open quote, "It is what we make out of what we have, not what we are given, that separates one person from another." Close quote. I therefore challenge young people to go out there, take their rightful place, and make a difference. You are the future. We wish to thank you all for tuning in, and I wish to extend our special gratitude to all those that made this event the success it is. My fellow cabinet colleagues for the encouraging and informative messages, our implementation partners, and members of the media. Finally, we wish to thank the SABC and other media for beaming this launch under this new normal of social distancing of COVID-19. Siyabulela. Thank you. Bayadanki. Enkosi.